welcome to another Vinny Talks Yanks. I am your host, Vincent LaRose, and today, the Yankees get swept by the Marlins. A very uneventful series, other than Game 1, which was a horrid loss and a really bad way to introduce our new guys after the trade deadline. But, you know, just this team has been so inconsistent. It's just it's really tough to gauge where they're gonna go at this point. But before we get into all of that, I'm gonna open today up with a Today in Yankees history. So on this day in 1979, a sad one, over 50,000 people gathered into Yankee Stadium to mourn the loss of Thurman Munson, who had died the previous day, who had passed the previous day. The Yankees captain and the Yankees catcher, I believe, was flying either back home from Ohio or to Ohio. I'm not mistaken. He had a pilot's license, he had his own plane, and he crashed on the runway and he passed. So a sad day in Yankees history, but also a day to celebrate one of the Yankee greats. With that being said, we'll move into the injury and roster moves. So not a lot of moves, obviously. We get all the moves after the trade deadline. But so the big one for this video is Luis Hill comes off the IL. I know he had a poor start today, but he comes off the IL to make his 2025 debut, and he replaces Jonathan Loaisiga, who goes on the 15-day IL with back stiffness. I don't think it's actually a phantom IL stint, as I believe the MLB is trying to crack down on those. As I said, the past couple of years they've tried to do that. I just think it's perfect timing. I guess, I don't know. More than likely, JT Brubaker would have been off the roster if Loaisiga doesn't go down. But you know, maybe that was something he'd been dealing with and why he'd been pitching so poorly. But another thing to make note of is Aaron Judge and Mark Leiter Jr. are both expected to make their return from the IL on Tuesday against the Rangers. So hopefully that, you know, gives us a little bit more of a boost. But with that being said, obviously I'm not going to do a breakdown of the series. At this point it's kind of tough to. All we can really talk about is how disappointing this team was. I mean, especially coming out of the trade deadline, you know, coming off the day of the trade deadline. You know, everybody's really excited. We acquired 3 guys in the bullpen, 3 high leverage guys too. You know, we get Jose Caballero, added on to the already gotten Ryan McMahon and Austin Slater. It really looked like a great deadline, an A+, maybe A- because we didn't get a starter deadline. And it all just backfires on us in Game 1, man. Game 1 was honestly awful. Pitching-wise, the offense was fine, but pitching-wise was awful. You know, it just didn't look great. You know, Rodon didn't necessarily pitch bad, but he was laboring, had the most walks of his season. He doesn't give up runs, but he just couldn't find it. And then the bullpen comes in and just looks so bad. Bednar, Bird, and Duvall are all guys we got at the deadline. They go for 2.1 innings, and I believe they give up 6 earned runs. I believe maybe 9 runs, something like that. But I think it is 9. Yeah, 9 runs. They just look bad, man. They just looked bad. I know Bird came in yesterday and had a nice inning. We didn't see any more of Duvall or Bednar this series. Bednar has been awful in Miami, so that's probably a good thing, to be completely honest. Duvall was getting warmed up today just in case the Yankees, you know, had a little bit of a rally going on, but obviously they didn't, so he sat back down and JT Brubaker came in. But that Game 1 was something really, really, really hard to watch. At points, I feel like it was just bad luck. At other points, it was just bad pitching, you know, balls being thrown right down the middle. And it's just a really tough way to start. You know, right after you get all these guys, right after you get really excited again and get your hopes up, all right, maybe this season isn't over. We were coming out of a 4-game win streak. It just Was it 4 games? No, I'm sorry. 3-game winning streak. We had a 3-game winning streak going, and it just looked like the upside was coming, man. We knocked the first place deficit down to 3.5 games. We were down by 6.5 games the week prior. You know, we were just coming into it hot. Everybody was excited. We were looking good. And game 1 is an absolute blow up, man. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. If they win even one of these other games, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I mean, granted, it is a big deal. You up by 6-0, and then up 9-4, and then end up losing 13-12. But it looks a little bit better in the sense of, all right, you don't really have to sit on this game so much. You don't have to think about, all right, well, we got to win out of the series when we should have gotten 2. We should have won the series, you know, and then you come out of it, you're getting swept going into Texas and Arlington against a really hot Rangers teams, 10-4 in their last 14 games. They're looking for a playoff spot, a wild card spot, you know. Then after this series, man, the Yankees get drop one spot lower as the Red Sox are now a game and a half up on us, and we're 3rd place in the AL East. And it's somehow, every time you sit there and you're like, all right, this is our moment, it's gonna get better now, it somehow gets worse. It just keeps getting worse as it goes. And I don't know if you necessarily can blame that on injury. I don't know if you can blame that on poor management, bad pitching, bad offense. I think it's a mix of it all, honestly, man. I know we've had a lot of injuries to the rotation this year. You know, losing Cole and Schmidt for the entire season is really tough. You know, Beal's first start was today. We missed him for the majority of the season. But we had guys like Warren and Yarbrough step up. And step up in a way of maybe they're not ace level, as good as as good as Schmidt would have been, as good as Heel would have been, as good as Cole would have been, but they gave us opportunities to win. And those times are the times we didn't win, when we need to win, when we need to score a little bit extra with a guy like that on the mound. And, you know, and then over the last 2 months now, our bullpen has been quite awful. And I like the moves in the bullpen, don't get me wrong, but I honestly would have sacrificed one of those guys to get a mid-level starter, because we're one injury away from having Allen Winans as our 5th starter now, as we release Marcus Stroman because we had no more roster room. And I know Yarbrough's on the way back, he's not too far out, so that's not that big of a deal, but it's still tough. You got one guy gets hurt, and now you're looking at it's just tough, man. You know, we have 4 starters in this rotation right now that should be in the MLB. Actually 3, because Schmidt, I keep wanting to say Schmidt, Schlittler, and Warren probably should still be in the minors. But you got 2 guys who are rookies. You have one guy coming off a major shoulder injury. You had Fried and Rodon, who have struggled since the All-Star break. Fried a game or 2 before the All-Star break. I know Rodon had a really good start before the All-Star break, but it's just tough to think that we didn't get a starter, man. It's just really hard to believe we didn't get a starter. And maybe the starter market was way too expensive, and to get Cease, they wouldn't let go if they got Lombard Jr. or Jones. And so I get it in a way, I really do. But you made a super bullpen out of guys who have been dominant, but who have also struggled a lot. I mean, Bednar hasn't had a fun. I mean, he's had a great season, but if I'm not mistaken, he got sent down earlier this year after having an over 6 ERA. Duvall, as you can see, has 5 blown saves now, which isn't a lot, you know, compared to, Clay Holmes, don't get me wrong, who we had last year. But he seems to struggle a lot under pressure, and Bird was only good in Coors Field, and not to just simply attack these guys, maybe minor defaults or minor weaknesses, but you weren't getting a Class A. You weren't getting a really good Devin Williams. I know he's had struggled as of late, but when he was in that 2-month stretch, or in years past simply has Devin Williams has been. You weren't gonna get a Ryan Presley, or Josh Hader, or just any other like high end closers in baseball. Don't get me wrong, these guys are good. They're really good. And I'm not complaining about them being in our bullpen at all. Not one little bit. But not one of these guys would have been a closer on the Yankees if we had them at the start of the year. Not one of them. Maybe Bednar fights for it and eventually gets it because he's had a really good season. Maybe Duvall. I feel like these are guys where it was like every single guy we got, it's going to be a mix. It's going to be a rotation. It's not going to be this is our designated closer. This is our 7th inning man. This is our 8th inning man, because they all have their struggles and they all have their weaknesses, and we have, you have to put them in the right position. Again, I don't like this is like don't overreact about what I'm saying here. It's not so much that I'm upset at the guys we got, because I'm ecstatic. We had a really good trade deadline. I know these last 3 games haven't really looked like it, but we did have a really good trade deadline. We got a guy that can steal bases and play good defense. We needed a backup shortstop in Jose Caballero. That was good. We needed way more bullpen help. We got 3 primetime guys, 3 good guys. I know maybe Bird's numbers don't show that, but Bird is a really good relief pitcher. And getting Duvall and Bednar, who are two not maybe top of the line closers, but they're still 2 really good closers. So I think Bednar was a little bit closer than Duvall. I know Duvall's stuff is better, but Bednar just had more overall success. We answer the third base issue with getting a guy like Ryan McMahon, and then we get another outfielder after the Judge injury who can mash lefties. And Austin Slater. I will say this though. I know Austin Slater came into the game today. I know Dominguez hasn't been amazing against lefties this year. He has been better as of late. I don't care if he's a switch hitter. He went 5 for 10. He should not have been taken out that game right there. Obviously, Slater just strikes out, so it makes no difference. And then Slater comes up again in a point of the game. I know we're down 4. But we got a guy on first and nobody out when we want to start a rally, and just strikes out on the slider just looks at it right down the middle. I really do not like pinch hitting for Jason Dominguez right there. That was really dumb on Aaron Boone's call, or Aaron Boone's side. That was so stupid. I'm sorry. It's so dumb, because you can even look at Jason Dominguez's numbers compared to Austin Slater's numbers. Obviously against lefties, Austin Slater has been way better than Jason Dominguez has, but just in general, Dominguez is a guy I'd rather have in that spot, to be completely honest. But that's why we got Austin Slater. So I think Ahmed Rosario would have been a little bit better of a guy to throw in right there, but it is what it is. But let's not stick to the negative. Let's go into the positive. And sorry, I was looking at my MLB The Show screen. That was weird. But Anthony Volpe is starting to really heat up. And I don't want to be that two-sided fan that's like, when they're doing bad, you boo. When they're doing great, you love them. But that's kind of baseball, to be truthfully honest. But I know I was really frustrated with Anthony Volpe and how many errors he was making, and the absolutely awful offense he was putting in the show. But he is starting to heat up. He seems to be a little bit more comfortable in the infield now. I know he makes an error this series. It irks me. It irks me a lot. To say this truthfully, but Paul Goldschmidt needs to have that. That was a little short hop pick. He should have had that. Granted, I am 100% a believer of you need to make a good throw, and although you cannot blame Goldschmidt 100%, and you have to put most of the blame on Volpe, I kind of feel like you do have to blame Goldschmidt in that sense, because that's 100% a pick he needs to have, and he's been really bad at the plate lately. But anyways. We're praising Volpe here. His bat is really starting to get going. He goes 1 for 4 today with a triple. I know he didn't have a hit yesterday. We sucked yesterday. But game 1, he goes 4 for 5, a double, a triple, a homer, and 2 singles. And Anthony Volpe starting. It seems like he's piecing it together. I'm very much hoping this isn't one of just his hot streaks and then he dies out, because I'd rather have your hot streak in September going into October. Granted, it's the beginning of August, so that can 100% happen. but he's starting to piece it together. I know Ryan McMahon had a 0-for-4 day with a strikeout today, and not a great day yesterday either, but Ryan McMahon has been really good. He's continuing to make some really, really good defensive plays at third base, and it's really nice to see. And for the good, that's really it, honestly. You can throw Dominguez in there. Dominguez is kind of like one series he's amazing, and the next series he's completely absent. Another thing I would like to say is Trent Grisham. I feel really good for Trent Grisham, man. This has really been a career season for him. He probably earned himself a 2 or 3 year contract because of it. Whether that's with the Yankees, I doubt it's with the Yankees, truthfully, because we're probably going to have Jones up next year. But whether that's with the Yankees or somebody else, he's earning himself a contract, and he's playing great defense. Although today, I really am not happy with that play in center field. Granted, it's not a play 100% that is made 100% of the time, probably closer to 20% of the time. It just kind of still looks like Grisham kind of floats to the ball in the sense of like when he makes the play, because he makes every play look easy. But I think he should. Grisham, being the defensive guy he should have made that play in center today. It's still a hit though. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. But other than that, his bat has been awesome. He continues to walk at a good pace as well. Grisham has just been a really, really good, just a bright spot lately. So it's nice to see him continue to hit the ball well. I mean, has that over 800 OPS. Trent Grisham has been playing good baseball for the Yankees, and it's nice to see. Now let's get into a little bit more negative. I'm sorry. I really don't like to go here, but Austin Wells, I believe, is 5 for his last 36. Austin Wells is completely laboring at the plate. He can't really throw anybody out either. And I think when Judge comes back, since he's going to be in the DH spot, and you really are going to have to play Stanton in the outfield a lot, you don't want to lose everyday at-bats from Grisham, Bellinger, and Dominguez. So I think it's time maybe to either throw, Rice at catcher and just start. I think they should get a true 50-50. Because Wells needs a little time. It looks like that hand is still bothering him. I don't know if anybody else has noticed, but he takes a hard swing sometimes and kind of nonchalantly shakes the hand a little bit. That's the hand that was injured before, where they were worried he had an aneurysm, kind of like David Cohn's. But Austin Wells has been awful at the plate. Awful. He's been an automatic out for the last 2 weeks now, maybe 3. I find it a little bit funny that when Anthony Volpe was struggling the way he was, it was kind of pointed out. And now that Austin Wells is doing it, not pointed out as don't get me wrong, I see a lot of people commenting on it, but just not getting as much boos or hate from the Yankees side. Granted, this guy wasn't supposed to be the next Jorge Posada, like they were saying Volpe is supposed to be the next Jeter. Although we knew that was never gonna happen. We still held those expectations on him, which was completely and truly unfair. But Austin Wells needs to pick it up, man. And then the last thing I'm gonna get into before I end the video today is the base running. Base running, and on top of that, accountability. I like Aaron Boone. I know a lot of you guys don't like Aaron Boone, but I like Aaron Boone as a manager in the sense of he really protects his guys. And take I like with a grain of salt, but he protects his guys, and I feel like no matter what, he has their back. It's almost like he's going into war, and he is truly a leader to go out there for. But the accountability part is terrible. It's terrible. Don't get me wrong. I want a leader that has, 100% trust in my decisions. I want a leader that trusts me no matter what, that'll let me go out there and do my thing. But I also want a leader that'll come to me and tell me when I'm doing wrong and when I need to make a change. And if you're a Major League Baseball player and you can't get walked up to by your manager and be told that was a mistake and you cannot do that again without having a temper tantrum, you have a problem. You have a serious problem. Jazz Chisholm, that play was awful. I don't know what you were thinking in your head. And Jazz, you haven't been hitting well either, so you don't even really have that to hold on to right now. I know he had 2 hits today. I'll give him that. He had 2 hits today, homer and a single. But at the end of the day, you cannot make that completely awful judgment call. Like, look at the ball, kind of shuffle a little bit, and then mosey back to first, realize you might get thrown out, and then how someone gets thrown out. Because that was so bad. That makes me so angry. Because it's like the less fortunate, the guys that we played in high school, junior college, we get benched for that. You get benched for doing stuff like that. That's just so bad. And then him saying that he would do it again, you would get thrown out again? What are you talking about? That is just irks me a lot. But again, Aaron Boone, you gotta walk up to him and tell him that's not the right play there. You get back to first, because even if your thought process is like they were saying today, giving him the excuse of, well, it might be possible that he drops this ball to get me out because there was no infield fly call. So I want to stay on base instead of Goldschmidt because Goldschmidt is a slower runner, and I'm thinking if I get a couple steps off the bag, I might be safe because we're on turf and he might get a big hop. Then we got first and second with nobody out, or 1 out, or whatever it was. Yeah, that's stupid. That's really dumb. I don't care what anybody says. That is not even close to the right judgment call. Even if he drops that ball on purpose. So your idea is he's dropping the ball on purpose. He drops that ball on purpose. You're out at second base regardless. You're out. I don't care. You're not making it to second base. That is such the wrong and dumb decision. If you want to think that in your head maybe, and then but the second you think that, the second you see that ball fall out of his glove, you jump right back to the bag. No, I'm getting so angry. Anyways, what a poor play. Just what a poor decision. And Aaron Boone, get on your guys a little bit more, okay? It's not a popularity contest. It's not who's the most liked manager. It's the manager that gets the job done at the end of the day. Those are the guys that last. That's why Joe Torre lasted for so long in a George Steinbrenner era, where he fired everybody. But Joe Torre. You know why? Because Joe Torre won. Not because his players kissed his ass. Not because his players were like, oh, Joe Torre's the best and we love Joe Torre so much because he protects us. Oh my God. It's because he won. And that is all that matters at the end of the day. Aaron Boone will be a good bench coach, so I'll say that. But anyways, I'm going to end it there. I'm not going to continue to make myself angry. It's pointless. There's no point in doing it. Hopefully we can go in Texas, get back on track, and start a winning streak. Get that first wild card spot back, and hopefully make a run for the division, although it's looking very scarce at this point. But I'm going to end it there. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you do so on the podcast side, remember, I'm on all podcasting services, and if I'm not and you have a problem with that, that's probably most of you don't care. But if you have a problem with that, just DM me on Instagram or something like that, and I can add to any podcasting site. It's not a problem. But that's all I got. If you guys are interested and you want daily content, I post daily content on my Instagram, Facebook, TikTok mostly. TikTok's the most popular, so if you're interested in that, you can go hit any of those up. They're all Vinny Talks Yanks, and then Instagram is Vinny.TalksYanks or VinnyTalks.Yanks. I don't remember 100% because I don't have any followers on Instagram, but that's where I'm going to end it today. Thank you for watching, listening, wherever it is. I hope everybody has a good morning, night, day, or whatever time it is you're listening to this, and go Yankees.